Welcome back. It is the Arvo Flow Sports Hour, and it's time to get underway with our World Cup Daily segment. And there's no one better to join me on the line now than our very own football expert, Johnny Moore. Johnny, it's great to be back with you again for another week. How are you doing?
Yeah, going well. Been another exciting week of all the World Cup fixtures. Some really good games to get our teeth stuck into, and going well my end. And hopefully all those listeners out there once again have had a good week and enjoy the weekend ahead.
Well, your mother country, England, they're in a fairly good position to go on and have a real good, hard crack at this World Cup. We'll speak a little about them later on, but for now, we should really address the results this morning, Johnny. Two extraordinary results for very different reasons. Let's firstly pick apart Portugal-Switzerland. 6-1 in the end, it went to Portugal. We thought that it would go either this way or that it would be a huge shock. We did get the Portugal domination in the end, Johnny, and really the big story to come out from this result is Cristiano Ronaldo not entirely impressing himself upon the Portuguese fans, but they'll take a 6-1 win.
Yeah, most definitely. Unfortunately, there's still a lot of talking point, and the cameras always focus on Ronaldo. Look, an exceptional talent, and has been over a number of years. And look, he's still got obviously some game time to play, but for me, it's about the team sport and team first, players second, in my opinion. And look, the team did a remarkable job this morning getting the job done, and an emphatic 6-1 win, and they could have actually scored a few more if they'd taken all their chances. But look, fantastic attacking flair in their lineup, and look, lots of creativity. Felix is on fire. Bernardo Silva is a quality player that can link up, and then obviously for a substitution of taking Ronaldo out and putting Ramos in to score a hat trick. Looks a nice gloss performance from them, and defensively they look fairly solid. So look, Portugal will be one of those probably underestimated sort of teams left in the competition. I'm sure the likes of Brazil and Argentina and probably England and France will take the formalities of probably being the favourites. But yeah, I don't write Portugal off.
Gonçalo Ramos scoring a hat-trick, Pepe getting on the score sheet along with Rafael Guerreiro and Rafael Leao, which rounded out the 6-1 win, Switzerland's goal scorer being Manuel Akanji. Johnny, Switzerland, they're not really a bad side. They're fairly solid. When you look at the players they've got some guys who are competing in the highest levels of the game in the Premier League and in other top European leagues. So this is a very, very decent result for Portugal, and surely it boosts their currency as a prospective champion, and it would be for the first ever time if they were able to do it. How far do you see Portugal going? Because you just mentioned some of the depth that they've got in their squad, and there's no better position to go into a quarterfinal than giving a team an absolute hiding as they've done this morning. So all things looking pretty rosy for the Portuguese.
Yeah, most definitely. Not that I want to talk back on Ronaldo, but I'm sure there will be a bit of discussion in terms of starting lineup for next game. And look, Ramos in terms of hasn't done himself a bad little performance there to get into the manager's brain to think about starting him for the next game. But look, yeah, the team's high on confidence. Really strong performance from the individuals collectively as a team to get the job done. As you mentioned, the Swiss aren't a bad outfit. They're a handy opponent. They got through their group stages and obviously dismissed Serbia, who are no easy team either. But I just think that there's a big step between some of these, I'd say, European outfits that probably have a little bit more depth, and just that little bit of skill level is that quality throughout the sort of starting 11. So look, the Swiss obviously came up against a strong opponent, and once you're sort of 2-0 down and chasing the game, sort of the game really does open up, and the floodgates did open up to score goals left, right, and centre for the Portuguese. So they're one of the teams that I think, like I said, they're a bit of a dark horse, but I'm not sure if they'll get to the final. From my perspective, I think they may reach the semis, but may get knocked out in the semis.
I want to take this opportunity to ask you this, Johnny. A lot's been made of the fact that this really is the last time that we may see Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo win a World Cup, and in fact the last time that we might have an opportunity to see a Portugal-Argentina final, which is on the top of a lot of neutral fans' wish lists for a potential World Cup final. I want to ask you this. So obviously, well, I think definitely, it will be the last chance either of these greats have of lifting the World Cup. Is it a case of whether we see Ronaldo or Messi win the World Cup that truly defines them being the greatest of all time? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, look, I would probably, as a player of most of my career as a defender, I like to think, look, the greatest player of all time generally goes to all the attackers and the guys that take the limelight of scoring the goals and getting the assists and stuff like that, which as a player looking forward, you always look at getting your name in the paper or out there in terms of that. But for me, I think it's a team performance. When you say the greatest of all time, it's definitely, for me, look, I would love to sort of more put the aspect on the whole team and pick a goalkeeper and a defender and stuff like that. But look, if they were to win the World Cup, especially from Messi's point of view, I think he's been an outstanding achiever, and he's still obviously got a few more years, I believe, to give. But yeah, probably the last opportunity for himself and Ronaldo, respectively, to win this World Cup. And look, that will probably put the icing on the cake to probably say, look, you are the greatest of all time, winning everything that you can do, probably in your time of playing. In those highest leagues and European competitions. But look, I like to try and throw the likes of Manuel Neuer as a goalkeeper and Pepe and Thiago Silva and Dani Alves. This will probably be their last time playing probably a World Cup, unless they come back in their 40s. But look, respective of their positions as well, I think they probably don't get as much talking points. But yeah, look, I'm hoping it definitely the best players are on show make the final, but it's no easy competition to knock off these other nations, which realistically now you're probably looking at some of the stronger teams left. So on their day, anyone can beat anyone.
All right, now Morocco and Spain, a 0-0 draw the final full-time result, but it then, of course, went to extra time and penalties to settle this game in what was a knockout elimination game. So Morocco on penalties beating Spain. It's a massive shock, Johnny. Where does this one rank in terms of World Cup all-time surprising results? Because there hasn't been that many over the course of the World Cup's history, although we could point to some in this very tournament. But obviously, yeah, this isn't the greatest ever Spain side, but to not get over Morocco is just huge.
Yeah, most definitely. I think Morocco have gone under this competition, under the radar, as I like to say, and they've got some really quality players and some individual talents that are playing at some top European clubs. So look, they've definitely got some names in their squad, but you wouldn't have thought they would be knocking off the likes of Spain. And Spain have only got themselves to blame. Look, dominated games, and that's been some of the sort of Spanish style for years and years in terms of keeping the ball, and when they haven't got it, sort of put the opposition under pressure and try and win the ball back as quick as possible. But look, if you can't put the ball in the back of the net after 90 minutes or into extra time as well, you're not going to win a game of football. And it comes down to obviously the confidence, possibly a little bit of luck, but who holds their nerves in a penalty shootout? And as an England fan over the years, there's been lots of heartache for penalty shootouts that I've witnessed. So, yeah, look, I've actually been disappointed in some of the major sort of strikers in the competition. Not that I want to call them out. It's no easy sort of position to be in, but you sometimes, Morata, I've looked at, and he had a couple of chances, one really good sort of headed chance and was off target. And I might just pick out another opportunity with Belgium, just seeing Lukaku have chances where they could have won and gone through in their group stage. But look, if you can't take your chances, you're not going to win a game, and then it comes back to haunt you. So look, hats off to Morocco, fabulous job. The fans, I saw them in the stands praying, and obviously the gods were with them, and they kept their nerve and went through. So look, they could cause another upset, and hopefully they can keep the journey alive, because it's a nice thing seeing an underdog go all the way or as far as they can in these competitions.
Johnny Moore speaking there about the big World Cup results this morning, and we'll speak more about the World Cup and some of the big results that he's been most impressed by over the course of the World Cup so far in the last fortnight or so. That's coming up right after this. And welcome back to the Arvo Flow Sports Hour here on Flow FM. I've got Johnny Moore joining me, our round ball expert, talking all about the World Cup, of course. There's nothing much more to talk about when it comes to football or indeed sport in general right now. Johnny, good to be with you again. Let's discuss some of the really impressive results from teams that you've seen in the World Cup since our first ever game played in the 2022 instalment of the World Cup. There's been some great games played out. Perhaps we'll start first just by addressing England, because they had a nice win against Senegal. Probably not the ultimate test that you would like to see England come up against, because we know that fans such as yourself are really hoping that 2022 may be the year to break the drought. But nevertheless, you can only beat who's in front of you, and England are going to be in the final 8. So you'll be very quietly optimistic, I gather, Johnny, about what England can do at this World Cup.
Yeah, most definitely. Look, they're going nicely. I think defensively looking pretty strong. I'd probably like to see them attack a little bit more in periods. I find that when they play their 1-2 touch and flying football and get behind the opposition's defence or get it out wide and put early balls in, they really look really dangerous. And I think they cut out teams superbly at times. But there's obviously the flip side of that, and they sort of keep the ball and go backwards a little bit too much for my probably liking. But look, you've got to pick your opportunities. But fantastic performances so far to get forward into this competition. And look, they've every hurdle they've come up against, and like you mentioned, maybe not the strongest opponents on paper, but nevertheless, they've dispatched them. Senegal are no easy team. They've definitely got some quality and some patience and skill amongst their ranks. So hats off to Southgate. He seems to be rotating the players and getting the formation right. Next test will be a real toughie for the English there. So let's watch the space, and then I'll give you the judgment whether or not I think they can win it. But you've got to have the confidence, and I think that's in the playing group installed at the moment, and the bench for the quality to come off from there. I think they've got the depth there to take it out if they can.
We've got to talk about some of the other sides that are up there as favourites with England. Brazil have to be one of those, Johnny, after dismantling South Korea 4-1. Again, a case of not playing the strongest side that you're going to come up against in this knockout phase of the World Cup. But Brazil, a really impressive 4-goal haul for them yesterday morning. You must be pretty nervous about potentially coming up against them.
Yeah, look, I think if everything goes to plan, you could have them, assuming Brazil make the final, but I think they've been really strong, and you'd face them in the final. And that wouldn't be a bad prospect for both nations. Some really good players listed on the team sheets. And Brazil, look, they've been going superb. They'll probably be my favourite to take out the competition. I know my roughly the dark horse in Belgium, they got dispatched, and I was thinking worrying that, like I spoke about them going out in the group stage, and they did. But look, Brazil, for me, I haven't really seen too many weaknesses. Their attacking flair is fantastic. Probably could be a little bit more clinical in front of goal if I was going to be really critical. And defensive displays have been fairly strong. I don't even think they've probably gone to their top gear yet. I'm sure there's plenty more to give. But when you've got the likes of probably Richarlison, whether he's coming off the bench, and you've got probably the likes of Rafinha, whether he starts or come off the bench, and probably Jesus, although I believe he's injured, he's missing. But like people like that, and then you've got the likes of probably Ederson as a backup goalkeeper, and Dani Alves with experience coming off the bench. You've got plenty of depth there. So I think they'd be the ones for me to really back for the competition. And I guess with not that you need any extra incentives, but with Pele's condition, I think the players want to get behind him and do something for him. And I believe the coach has got a really good relationship, which I think that installs a bit like Graham Arnold with the Australians. I think if you can get all the playing group behind the coach, that just extra little bit might be all it takes to get over that last final hurdle and lift that trophy.
Yeah, I really agree with that, Johnny. I want to talk about one of the other sides that's been an underdog and really impressed at the World Cup in 2022. That has to be Japan, the Blue Samurai. Obviously going out in the morning yesterday to Croatia quite agonisingly in a penalty shootout. They really took Croatia quite far, Johnny, and this is a Japanese side that beat Germany and Spain in their group stage, of course, which is mammoth. I remember speaking about that group with you a couple of weeks ago, and we both automatically assumed, as I'm sure everyone did, that Germany and Spain would easily dispatch the Japanese, but not to be. They've punched above their weight at this World Cup, Japan.
Yeah, most definitely. I definitely thought that over the course of this World Cup, they've had a really good, I'd say fairy tale, but it's been a performance that the coach probably might have expected to probably get some good results. But as probably the neutrals, you would have thought the Germans and Spanish, like you mentioned, probably would have topped the group in first and second. But the Blue Samurai, wow, what a performance! The actual group camaraderie looks like it's pretty good. The players that come off the bench have really had an impact throughout this World Cup. Yes, unfortunate to go out and battled all the way, took them to obviously penalties with a strong sort of Croatian outfit. So look, they've hold their heads up high, and the reports that I read, if they're true in terms of what their supporters do and stay behind and clean up after every game, and the dressing rooms look immaculate. I mean, that's a true example for other nations to follow, in my opinion, in terms of look after what you've got. And look, they seem like they've had a really good tournament, and can obviously be applauded for their efforts, but obviously disappointing for them just to fail that probably sort of, I guess, to that penalty stage, which, like I said, is a bit of a lottery at times, or holding your nerve. So, but well done for them from my side of things.
Well, we'll conclude by just getting your thoughts on the Australian efforts, but I do want to just take this opportunity quickly to compare Australia and Japan, two sides from the same confederation in Asia who were both expected to not get out of their groups, Johnny. Australia and Japan finishing at the same point in the round of 16, doing a really, really good job to punch above their weight and really embrace the underdog tag. But the differences come in how both tournaments have ended for Australia and Japan. Obviously, we know that there's so much goodwill and praise that we've seen go around for the Australian side. They've all sort of gotten back into their respective home cities in Australia. We've seen massive amounts of fans rallying in the airports, welcoming the Australians home. We obviously saw the visions from the live sites around the country. All those fans everywhere packing out live sites such as Federation Square, Telstra Plaza in Adelaide, Fed Square in Melbourne, getting their flares out and really getting behind the Aussie cause. Then, in stark contrast, you've got the Japanese going out to Croatia on penalties, and instead of really looking back and saying, wow, what an achievement for us to get this far, the Japanese were disappointed. Their manager, Moriyasu, coming out and saying, no, we're disappointed to go out. We wanted to go further and we expected to go further. What do you make of that? And as a player in an underdog side, how would you feel about that sort of sentiment? Would that empower you to feel as though you can go one further the next time, Johnny? Or would you think, wow, that's a bit rich to be saying that after the fact that no one expected us to get this far?
Look, for me, you've always got to probably set a benchmark in terms of what you want to achieve. But look, anything's possible, and I think it's shown in especially the group stages of this World Cup. Look, both teams from their respective sort of regions, and even throw sort of South Korea now. I think it's the first time that three teams from that Asian continent have got through to the round of 16. So credit to all three of them. But yeah, you talk about the perspectives of probably the fans and the playing groups of obviously their achievements, and some might be obviously happy that they've overachieved and leave it at that. And look, everyone was expecting Australia to go out against Argentina, and look, I thought Argentina was a strong outfit in that. But when you look back on the actual overall performance, they can hold themselves heads up really high in terms of the Australians. And look, they could have actually snatched a goal and possibly forced it into extra time. But once again, Argentina had chances to kill the game off. But it's about those moments in football about taking. But yeah, look, from Australia, they've got to obviously take the positives from that and build on from that. But going back to the Blue Samurai and Japan, yeah, look, I think when you get to the knockout stages, anything's possible, and you've just got to have that belief. And they probably, I wouldn't say were the favourites, but they expected to probably beat any opposition that's put in front of them. And they're a very fit, very well disciplined, organised side that have got a lot of skill amongst them. So look, they are difficult to break down. And when they do get broken down, and you think you might have them, and it showed against Spain and Germany where they were losing 1-0 and came back to win the game. So look, you can't write them off. But yeah, look, as supporters of these nations, you would definitely applaud them. But you'd be disappointed as well because, like you said, you get that one chance every 4 years, and any supporter believes their team can win it, even if you are coming up against those big heavyweights. It might, on its day, just not be going their way for the favourites, or they might have a sending off, and anything can happen in this game of football. And that's what makes it a beautiful game to watch with the supporters. And like I said, one's throwing the flares off and stuff. It's a really good atmosphere around the world, and it's as they call it, the world game. The fans are magnificent, and all throughout this tournament I've seen some great videos and great memes and all these posts from social media that really put smiles on people's faces, or it has for me. So I've really enjoyed getting behind and watching all the different countries perform in this competition.
All right, well, just to close out, Johnny, and very briefly, I want to get your thoughts on this. Is the performances that we've seen and the final result that we've seen from Australia exactly the sugar hit that we need to raise the profile of the game in Australia? Because we know we've got the grassroots participation. There's a green tick there, but from that above, we're sort of not where we want to be. So you've got your hands in various pies. You're a junior coach, also a senior player at a semi-pro level in Australia. Is there anything more that the country can desire and take out from a World Cup other than a really spirited underdog performance, which has seen the team make the last 16 nations in the tournament?
Yeah, I think there's always positives you can take out of it, and there are some, I say negatives, but working points I always like to probably focus on. What we can improve upon and how further we can take the game, because there's always room for improvement, because if there isn't, then you're going to sort of stay in a probably sediment area and not going to take, sort of like I said, the juniors and the grassroots and academies and all those kind of levels further and further. So for me as a coach, even at the club I'm playing at Vipers, they're saying that the team every year, the sort of juniors expand, but sometimes they have to turn kids away just because they sometimes don't get the actual availability of coaches. And that's sometimes it's trying to get the volunteers, but if there's more, I guess, awareness of probably as a country doing very well and probably courses available and stuff like that, I think it will try and get more people interested in the sport. I mean, most probably coaches might have a son or daughter involved, and they probably get involved just from that side of things, as opposed to sort of volunteer and then trying to get your licenses to develop yourself and get the skill set to be able to develop these juniors. Because from my point of view, coming towards the end of my playing career, that's what I'm installed to do: get the best out of every individual, and as a team performance, every time I go to a training session, I want to improve that kid, even if it's by 5%, and they come away and they've learned something to then take it to the next level. But seeing some of these kids saying that their idols are sort of now Aaron Moy or maybe Craig Goodwin and people like that, these local things, that's a real good highlight of where the game's come in. Because I mean, most people will know you Ronaldos and Messi's, and they're still probably the focal point for some of these younger players coming through. But if they're focusing on some of more of the homegrown talent, I think it definitely is shown that Australia's putting themselves on the map, and they can possibly go one step further. And every little bit of progress for me is obviously pleasing to see.
Well, Johnny Moore, it's always great to get your thoughts. Johnny Moore, our resident football expert, thanks so much for joining me again. We'll speak to you next week.
Thanks very much, Ellis. Enjoy the rest of your day, and all those listeners out there, I hope you enjoyed another roundup of the World Game, and I'll see you next week.